Hello, Shoyan here. Last time I finished framing the floor, so now I'm laying the floor planks and moving on to the ceiling. Before I start on the floor, I install the kamachi. This isn't a typical residential house, it's a steel-framed office or warehouse. So this kamachi isn't for an entryway or anything like that. The doorway is inside the building and the door frame is already in place. We're leaving that as is. Unfortunately, the kamachi won't really be visible in the end, but I set a solid kamachi between the floor and the door frame. The floor planks are cedar, but since cedar isn't suitable for the kamachi here, I use hinoki cypress instead. This piece is about 40 millimeters thick and around 150 to 160 millimeters wide. The doorway has a concrete finish, so I make sure the kamachi lines up with it. I measure around the door jamb, cut the kamachi to fit the widest spot, and adjust it as I install to deal with any uneven areas. The concrete surface isn't perfectly flat, so I plane the edge to match the unevenness as best I can. When you're planing this low, it's hard to eyeball it level from the side, so I plane down the face to the ink line first, then mark it with a pencil. That way, I can see where the corners land even from above thanks to the color difference. I rough plane it, fine-tune the fit, and snug it up as tight as I can. It's the same trick I used back in the day when prepping timber for joinery competitions. This kamachi is pretty straightforward to install. I just set it in place and drive in screws from the back. That's it. Not every kamachi goes in this easily. Now that the entry kamachi is in, I'm laying 30 millimeter thick joistless cedar planks with no knots. Some are light, some dark, and some mixed. This time, I'm starting with the dark ones, laying them from the doorway. The original door jamb extension is still in place, so I notch it slightly and align the first plank neatly with the kamachi. I'll be framing on the concrete wall on the sides later, so I just need to leave some wiggle room there. But I make sure the plank lines up perfectly in the middle doorway since it's the first plank. I adjusted the first plank to match the uneven surface, so I start laying it. It's easy to screw into the tongue, but screwing into concrete is always tricky. If I screw the plank down right away, it shifts toward the back. So first, I fine-tune the alignment, then wedge it tight against the concrete to keep it straight. Next, I drive a screw from inside the room to keep it straight. I don't screw into the back concrete side. It's already wedged, so the floor won't lift. I'm also adding a wall frame over this, and once that's on, everything locks together. That's how I secure the first plank. Once that first plank is down, it gets easier. From the second plank on, I don't even need to cut them to length. They're only 5 or 6 centimeters short. So now I just glue each piece and keep laying them down. In the middle of this room, there's going to be a kitchen. There's no space under the floor, so I coordinate with the plumber and have him run the pipes up at the same time I'm laying the planks.
ここはこれから36行ったのか。あ、違う。反対やった。
そうやろ、やっぱ違うやろ。
これ一寸に向けたとこから
100やからこっちに来なあかんねん。
こっち来なあかんねん。水道さんがね、間違えました。
お、出た
どれかいな。
I ran the wiring and gas lines under the floor myself. And that's it for the flooring. Next up, I work on the window jamb extension. Unlike the entry door, the extension was removed during dismantling. I'm replacing it with a clean new hinoki one. Because of the wall frame's thickness, this one's a bit wider than usual. The window is using an old-style crescent lock, and the lock hits the sliding screen. That's why I need to make the extension a little wider than usual. But once the window is in, you won't even notice the extra width. Nowadays, most window jamb extensions are joined with a butt joint. You just cut two pieces to length with the miter saw and screw them together from the side. That's the standard now. That's just how it's done. But today, I'm using the method I used to use, a stop dado joint with an edge tenon. It's been a while since I've done one, so I'm a little nervous about how it'll turn out. Still, I've come this far, so I might as well do it right. I cut the edge tenon a little deeper than usual and drive screws in at a 20 to 30 degree angle from above. That holds the joint tight, no need for screws from the side. We used to use tenons not just for joining window extensions, but also for doorways, even on flush walls that hid the columns. But once miter saws got more precise, the finish got cleaner. So people stopped going out of their way to cut tricky joints like this. It's just not worth the risk anymore. Once I cut the tenon cleanly, I can join the pieces even with one hand without needing to hold both. With butt joints, they often don't come together cleanly. This joint holds everything rock solid once it's assembled. Still, this isn't something I can keep doing every time. The window sash has angled trim, just like back in the day. You hardly see bronze screws anymore, but I've saved some, so I use them here. Once those are in, installing the extensions is easy. The outer side of this wall with the window is an exterior wall, so the extension's a bit deeper than usual. I install 40 by 40 mm studs directly onto the C-channel with self-tapping screws, then secure the horizontal furring strips over that. Now, I start framing the ceiling. Since the first floor height is already set, I could measure up from there. But this room has a staircase and the layout's a bit irregular. So I set the ceiling height based on where the board will sit above the window extension.
下上
上をこれで全然だからこう一軒間につけてあったらこれでもう通り見なさねえと思うと
There are light gauge steel studs around the perimeter, so I screw the ceiling frame into those. Just one screw won't hold much, but once I fix a few, it all tightens up. I use a few more screws than usual, just to be safe, more than technically needed. For the ceiling, I'm using 40 by 40 millimeter lumber, like always. Once the perimeter is secured to the steel studs, the rest is just like wood framing because the 3.6 meter lumber reaches the ends. I spaced them at 300 millimeters and attached the ceiling boards to that. The original ceiling was really high, but there won't be any oversized AC units going in this time. Now the ceiling lands just above the window at 2,400 millimeters. That's about 30 to 40 centimeters lower than before. But that gives us more room to run wiring and do other work in that space, so it's actually better. There are solid bars installed above the ceiling, spaced 900 millimeters apart. I screwed the vertical ceiling hangers directly into those with self-tapping screws to hang the ceiling. A dead flat ceiling can actually look like it's sagging to the human eye. So I give it a slight upward bow, maybe 3 to 5 millimeters to make it look level. Next, I install the ceiling boards with my trusty buddy. He never complains, so we work great together. Like always, I glue the seams between boards to keep cracks from forming later. I finished installing the floor, the window extensions, and the ceiling. Next time, I'll be working on the walls. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.